Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music. Lo-fi jazz. Every so often I like to revisit Rootless voicings and the Harmonic highway. Well, if those things interest you, take a look at this. The blues is probably the sort of single biggest foundation for jazz or black classical music as we practice it. But after that, the next most important chord progression is what jazz musicians call rhythm changes. But rhythm changes are based on a really pretty simple idea. The circle of fifths, the part of the circle of fifths that lives within any key signature. My teacher called it the harmonic highway. I've heard it called a number of other things. In this case, and let's listen to this right now, it's 3, 6, 2, 5. Now I have a couple of tricks that I use to make this sound great. We'll get to them, but let's listen to this cycle first. There's E minor, A7, D minor 7, an altered version of D flat. And then it happens again. 3, here it comes. 3, 6, it's a dominant chord. 2 minor 7, flat 2 altered. The flat 2 altered is a tritone substitution for the G7. Let's break this stuff down and we'll get on with it. Now, this may be a review for those of you who are very familiar with the harmonic highway. But if it is, skip to the next chapter. So in any given key signature, there's a 1 chord, which in this case is C, a 2 chord, D minor 7, a 3 chord, E minor 7, 4, 5, that's G7, 6, which is A minor 7, and then the 7th chord, which is kind of like a version of the dominant, and then back home again to 1. Now, the circle of fifths is a really simple idea. E is the 5 of A, which is the 5 of D, which is the 5 of G, which, by the way, is the 5 of C, which is the 5 of F. All of these notes are in the key of C. F is the 5 of B flat, and at that moment we've gone out of the key. I could just as easily have started on B, which is the 5 of E, which is the 5 of A, which is the 5 of D, which is the 5 of G, which is the 5 of A, which is the 5 of F. And I would have gone right around the circle of fifths, all of the 7 tones of the scale within that key. Now, if I assign chord qualities to each of them, E minor 7 is like a 2 chord to the A7, which is the 5 chord. In this case, A7 with a sharp 11. D minor 7 to the G7. And that takes me home again to 1. The circle of fifths has a subset in every key, and that subset is the harmonic highway. Any progression that uses some chunk of it is going to sound very natural and positive to us. But it's not enough. It's not enough to sound cool. So here's my trick for making that cycle sound even spicier. There's a series of 2 5s, basically, right? E minor A7, D minor G7. We could go on. I replace one of the dominant chords, one of the 7th chords, with its tritone substitution. Why? I'll just remind you that G7 and D flat 7 share 2 notes. They share B and F. They share a tritone. In one case, it's the 3rd and the 7th. In the other case, it's the 7th and the 3rd. That means that I can use the 7th and the 3rd and just kind of like replace the root and get a beautiful spicy effect. And that's what I've done in this arrangement. E minor 7, A7, D minor 7, and then a tritone substitution, the D flat. And that's D flat altered. So I've got some very cool, spicy tones in there. Well, let's go back armed with the knowledge that we have and listen to this again. The blue is the keyboard. And in fact, what distinguishes it, if you look at it, is this marching major second set that is descending. Do you see how that looks? It's a very interesting and effective, spicy way to make your chords sound crunchy. Stick a second into the middle. And this is E minor 7, A7 sharp 11, D minor 7, D flat altered. I love that sound. Now I'm going to offer you one last thing before we finish. It's a pretty powerful idea. Let's just make this go away so that we don't have to see the bass. I can grab the second note from the top in this chord progression and do something called drop 2. When you revoice your chords as drop 2, you basically create an open version of the chord that we just were hearing as a closed. And you can see now everything is spread out past an octave. That's what defines an open chord. Listen to it now. It's a really different sound. It's actually a little bit better for singers and for soloists. Still has the crunch because the seconds have become sevenths. Listen to what happens when we go back to our original voicing. Slight change, right? Not a big change, but a beautiful effect. Just so you know, I'm using Cymatic's Origin to give me that crunchy lo-fi sound. I'm a giant fan of Cymatics. Well, I hope this has been useful. We've got Rootless voicings. We've got the Harmonic Highway. We've got the Circle of Fifths. And we've got Drop 2, all helping us create crunchy, rich, fun, lo-fi jazz cycle. Just all I need now is someone to top line over that. Well, listen, like and subscribe. Ding the bell, you'll be notified when I do my videos, and I will see you next time.